Right there.
Right there? Which one?
Right there. Hold on.
Black cap. Black cap right there.
A shot at you. What are you gonna do now? How are you gonna kill it? You gonna become unsuccessful?
It's like anything else. Timing is everything. Or all those stars align. You know, I didn't plan to have Toomp in the same day as, you know, as Jermaine. It just really, everything just came together. I didn't plan to have Nas on Success. I didn't even plan to make this album.
Yeah.
You know, it just really, everything just happened with just the time and the stars aligned.
The stars have always seemed to align for JayZ once he followed his purpose and started his hip-hop career. Before JayZ retired in 2003, he was able to drop 3 classic albums, Reasonable Doubt, The Blueprint, and the Black Album. And then before JayZ retired in 2003, he was able to build a dynasty. The Diplomats, State Property, Kanye West, Memphis Bleak. The roster was crazy. And on Jay's last couple albums before the retirement, his sentiment was, "Where's the love? I held you down for 6 summers." And then by the time he got to the Black Album, he was thinking about, well, what more else can I say? And what would happen if I no longer exist? And just like any job, once you leave, someone's ready to step in and seize the opportunity. So we started to see the rise of G-Unit. Eminem was on fire. We start to see the rise of Houston, Texas. Mike Jones, Paul Wall, Chamillionaire, Slim Thug. The Game brings back the West Coast, and Jeezy has it snowing in the South. And while JayZ was retired, T.I. was able to speak the King of the South into existence, turning out #1 albums. Kanye West went from producing songs for JayZ to then making albums with JayZ on them, and then eventually becoming one of the top rappers in the entire game. 3 years passed by, and in hip-hop, that's a lifetime. JayZ's ready to come back into the rap game. So much has changed since he retired in 2003. It's now 2006, and he's ready to drop his Welcome Back album. JayZ returns in 2006, dropping his 9th studio album, Kingdom Come. Now, this album does have flashes of growth, but overall, it wasn't critically acclaimed, and the fans weren't too happy about the album, feeling like it wasn't the same JayZ that left on the Black Album. In most cases, your most important album is usually your debut album or the follow-up to your debut, so you can get to continue a rap career. Now for Jay, he's officially unretired, so now it's almost like he's starting over, and this second album after his retirement had to have been the most important album of his career, because if this second one does not do what it's supposed to do, who knows how the fans and anyone that loves JayZ is going to feel about him releasing any music after that. JayZ watched a film trailer of the movie American Gangster starring Denzel Washington and Russell Crowe, and all it took for JayZ to get inspiration is to see this trailer. And if you know anything about JayZ, all he needs is a little bit of inspiration and an idea, and then within a few days, you might have half an album done. And after watching that film trailer, you can tell it rewound him all the way back to Reasonable Doubt.
I was really excited about the movie. you know, because it took me back to a place that I hadn't been for a minute, you know, and you know, it just sparked all these ideas and all these thoughts and all these emotions that, you know, that I wasn't dealing with while I was over there living my life.
Now it's time to start recording the American Gangster album. JayZ has finally seen the film. The film was directed by Ridley Scott, who's one of the best filmmakers of all time. One of the things about Ridley Scott is he's always focused on detail in his films. JayZ would do the same on this album. Detail was a very critical role in making this album.
But I know, again, double entendre, it could be about a girl, it's about heroin, but it's not only just, you know, lyrics, it's the sound. You know, it sounds like a song that could be for girls or whatever, the music or whatever. How did you pick that beat?
The emotion of the track, like, first of all, the emotion of the track dictates the song on it for me. Like, that's the first thing I do. First thing I do is, what is the song, what is it saying? So to me, that song sounded like heroin. Mm-hmm. That's what it sounded like to me. Like, it sounded like, you know, somebody like Miles Davis in the jazz club. Right. I don't know if y'all could use this for TV, but this is just the honest.
To go online.
Yeah, this is just an honest answer. You know, like Miles Davis. So, in making the song, right? That's what happens with drugs. They don't pound you like that. They talk to you sweet, right. And that's the allure of it, and it pulls you in, and that's what was happening. Like, the lyrics was harmless. It's like a love song, so it was pulling you in and pulling you in further and further until you realize that now you've addicted to this drug. Yeah. You know, so that was the whole the method and, you know, behind why it sounds.
If you've ever followed JayZ's career, he knew a long time ago that not only lyrically the album had to be on point, but sonically as well. This album was just as important as any album he's done before. So we called in some of the biggest producers. The main producer that really took him over the top was Puff Daddy and the Hitmen, Sean C and LV, who would create the landscape of the album for all the other producers to join in on.
He's creating music.
Yeah.
Everybody wanted to get involved. People that hadn't been with you for a while, like Diddy.
Yeah.
Comes to you and wants to be the executive producer.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And you look at him and say, man, you
can't executive produce. An executive producer said, man, you're the greatest, all right? But even Michael Jordan had a coach.
That's what he said.
Yeah, he's great.
And you listened to him.
Yeah. What happened was, I was going in the house. I was right in front of my house. Yeah. And I got this phone call from him. He was like, come by the studio. And I'm going to pull away from my house. I head over to the studio. I get there. He's playing all these lush samples and all this 70s soul music, which relates straight to the movie, because that's the backdrop for this album that I made is set against these soul samples, you know, these things that I've heard growing up. So he's playing all these records, and they're amazing. And I'm like, what are you doing? So I'm putting the Hitman back together. You know, he got LV and Sean C, you know, his whole group. Right. And I'm like, but what are you doing all this type of music? Because it was the music that I needed. It was the exact music that, I envisioned in my mind. And he was like, man, I have nobody to give it to. You know, Biggie's not here, and I can't give these to just anybody. So I took these tracks, it's like 30 of them, by the way, it's 30 of them. Then I just start picking apart the best ones, and we just start working from there. The album, but he was right there. I gave him associate producer credit, you know, and he was very instrumental in the album because he made the foundation to which all the other producers produce into. Because, you know, I would play it for the producer and say, it has to fit in this. It has to sound like this. Sonically, it has to have this sound on it. Like, he's a director. He's like, it's like Motown over there in my studio. I got horn sessions. I mean, the things that he added after the lyrics was on it. You had to hear the bare tracks. The bare tracks were great tracks, but what he added after it made it a movie and made it complete.
Something about Rock Boys that people haven't heard before.
We did a like it was supposed to be like a break part and like the second verse, and we changed the beat, and then we changed the beat. We was all excited about it. He's like, yo, this is crazy, shit is crazy. And then Puff came over, he was like, man, that shit is whack. Nigga. I'm about to hear that shit. Like, we did this whole thing. He was like,
we're mad excited about it.
He came and he was like, Ain't nobody like that shit, nigga.
Like, what the fuck is this? You gonna break dance? What the fuck? Say that, like, it's not like everybody like, oh, Puff don't do nothing, and he just puts his name on the record. It's like he was there every studio session, and this is somebody that's got, you know, record label, clothing lines, colognes, and all kind of, you know, he got all this going on, and he'd still be at every session. Body was involved. Yeah. It wasn't just like pass the baton thing. Jay, you know, he would pop up to the studio. We would send because he was at Rock the Mic doing vocals. We'll be at Daddy's house working on the music, and then when we start mixing, then he might be like, yo, I got another idea. I'm gonna send it back to you right now. And then he'll see, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. We'll have to, and it wasn't really no internet sending. It was just like somebody go and get the stuff coming back so that shit wouldn't leak out. You know what I mean? So that was it was a dope experience. You know what I mean? Just to be able to.
JayZ would also tap in for production one of his old friends from Atlanta, the legendary Jermaine Dupri, for a beat for the album.
This particular night I went to the studio with JayZ for American Gangster soundtrack, and I didn't have a song. I hadn't seen the movie, and he told me to come to the studio, watch the movie so I could figure out what I could do for the soundtrack. And he played me, you know, a little bit of American Gangster. And the one thing that I noticed in American Gangster that I didn't know if he had or not was a song that is inevitable to all drug dealers. So I just started thinking about The Fall. I started looking for samples that said something about falling. And this chord, I sampled it, and it was this. And I did that. So I just kept sitting there thinking about the hook. And I was like, no, and then I just took the like I'm falling, seems like I'm falling.
So, like I said, this album is 3 acts. It's the genesis, the rise, and the demise. It's in 3 acts. You know, after the celebration, the slow decline starts to happen. Because the reason that you enter the game, to buy your mom a house, to better your conditions, starts changing for you. Because you're starting to get addicted to it. You're addicted to the pull. You're addicted to high stakes gambling, because you got to realize every single day you're gambling with your life. So I wrote a song about addiction. It deals with addiction on many levels. It deals with how you start out, you set out to do one thing, your intentions are pure, and then after a while you're just addicted to the life on the whole. And how do you break that addiction is the cross that you have to bear and what you have to figure out.
And just as important the beats are to an album, so are the guest appearances. And these were some huge appearances. You had Lil Wayne, Beanie Sigel, and Nas. The 2 features and songs that really put this album over the top was the Beanie Sigel and Nas feature. If you purchase this album, you most likely skip past every song and hop right to the Nas song, because we all wanted to hear what it would sound like for the second time of Nas and JayZ collaborating together, and this song definitely hit it out the park.
Game where only time can tell. Surviving droughts, I wish you well. Hold up, surviving droughts, I wish you well. How sick am I? I wish you health. I wish you wheels. I wish you wealth. I wish you insight so you can see.
You repeat the line, you know, as if like, you know, did you hear what I said? Like, this line is pretty hot. Like, was that like purposefully? Like, you repeated it like?
Yeah, it was a joke for me. Like, you know, my humor is dry, so it's almost like Seinfeld. Like, it was like, you know, that type of thing. The line was really surviving droughts. I wish you well, like a well that's in the ground, you know, provides water in the drought. That was the cleverness of the line.
The American Gangster album drops November 2007. Another #1 album, another classic album, another day at the office.
Why didn't you show up for that meeting, Steve? I set it up with the Yankees, Billy Martin. Why didn't you show up? Don't lie to me.
I don't want to play ball no more. I decided.
What you talking about? You decided? Decided what?
That ain't what I want.
What you talking about? You been playing since you was a little boy? You. What you want?
I want what you got, Uncle Frank. I want to be you.